So hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Anko. So let's start the series. The fourth headmaster of Hyde Ninja Village, Naruto's father, was a tall, blond man who stood in front of a freshly made altar with a newborn boy on it. His wife, Naruto's mom, was standing in front of him, and both of them were pierced through the chest by one of the great 9 demons' claws. Naruto's mom inquired, "Are you sure he will be okay, Naruto father-kun?" "Yes, dear. I am only sealing half of the 9 demons' power within him. The other half will be sealed within me as we pass to the next life. If there is anything you want to say, do it now," replied the Naruto father. "Naruto, how I wish that we could be there to watch you grow and live. I hope one day you will be able to forgive your father and me for the burden we are placing on you. I want you to grow and be a strong man, Naruto, find you a nice girl and settle down and give me some grandbabies. I love you, Naruto," the mother of Naruto said in a sorrowful tone. Naruto's father made a final hand gesture and yelled, "Seal," saying, "There's not much more to say, Naruto. I know you can befriend the 9 demon just like your mother did and use its power to protect those precious to you. We will always be watching over you, Naruto. I love you." A few minutes later, an older ninja wearing all black ninja gear arrived to discover the 2 dead bodies and the wailing baby. It was Hiruzen Sarutobi, the 3rd headmaster, who picked up the baby and tried to calm the screaming infant before directing the Umbu to take the 2 bodies back to Hyde Ninja Village. The last half of the 9-tailed fox was then sealed inside the infant, and as the fox disappeared, the bodies of the Naruto mother and father fell to the ground without any sign of life. Room of Council. With Naruto in a cradle beside him, Hiruzen sat at the head of the chamber, clad once more in headmaster robes. Hiruzen was shocked that the infant could sleep despite all of the shouting between the shinobi council and civilians. A councilman said, "We should just have the demon killed now before it attacks us all again." Another said, "Let's complete what the force started and be done with it all." "Are you insane? He is just a helpless infant. You can't seriously consider killing the poor child. He had no control over what happened," replied Inoichi Yamanaka. "The young pup didn't choose to be the Jinchuriki. Would you still feel the same way if it was one of your pups that the 4th decided to seal the demon in?" inquired Suminazuka. Hiruzen had finally had enough and began leaking his murderous intent into the room when he yelled, "Everyone just shut up!" which instantly produced the desired effect as everyone in the room became silent. The council began ranting and swearing back and forth once more. Naruto's father wanted this child to be seen as a hero for holding the 9-tailed demon fox, not as the monster sealed within him. No one is going to kill the young boy or harm him in any way. Naruto will be placed in the orphanage until he is able to support himself. No one will speak of this outside of this room. I am making this a SS-class secret punishable by death," Hiruzen said in a voice that did not allow for debate. When he realized that no one else would speak, he dismissed everyone and they all went their separate ways. When everyone had gone, Inoichi and his 2 pals Shikaka Nara Choza Akimichi approached Hiruzen. The headmaster inquired, "What can I help you 3 with?" "When will you tell Naruto of his heritage, Headmaster Sama? After all, since Lady Naruto's mom was heiress of Uzushigakure, that would mean that he not only prince of an entire country, but also the last heir to the clan," said Shikaku. "I will tell him when he is old enough to defend himself. Naruto's father made a lot of enemies out there and they may still try to get revenge on him by getting to his family. As for Naruto's mom's side of the family, I'm not really sure. We can cross that bridge when we get there. For now we just have to watch over him and keep him safe," Hiruzen said, noting that these 3 and their wives were all friends with both his mother and father. As Hiruzen gathered his belongings and Naruto to take him to the orphanage, the 3 ninja nodded and departed. He prayed to Kami that Naruto would be safe there, and that the baby would not suffer any harm. 5 years later, Anko Mitarashi, Tokubetsu High Ninja, was walking home from her favorite dango shop on a late evening in Hyde Ninja Village. She was wearing a dark orange skirt, a tan overcoat, and a mesh bodysuit that ran from her neck to her thighs. She turned a corner just as something collided with her and fell to the ground, and when she looked down, she saw a blond boy wearing a white shirt and orange shorts. She recognized the young boy immediately. Anko stepped forward to help the young boy get up, but he quickly got up and started running again. She was initially shocked because Nerda never ran from her. A few minutes later, she noticed ninja and civilians running in the same direction as Nerda. She was furious and set out to find Nerda before anyone else did. After all, they were very similar. They had both been abused and treated badly throughout their lives, but for two completely different reasons. She searched everywhere for Nerda but was unable to locate him. She knew he was skilled at hiding, especially when he could essentially vanish from trained Umbu. When she finally located him, he was stranded in a dead-end alley with no way out. The sight of him sickened her. He had burns from fire spirit arts on his arms and legs, his eyes nearly swelled shut, bruises from being beaten all over his body, and a few broken or dislocated bones. She turned to face the throng of onlookers and ninja. Someone in the center of the crowd said, "What do you want, snake whore? Stay out of our way or you're next." To which the others in the mob yelled in unison. "Summoning spirit art," Anko said with a sly smile as she bit her thumb and did a few hand gestures before smashing her palm to the ground. Two enormous cobras, one black and the other dark purple, materialized in a cloud of smoke. "What can we do to help you with, Anko?" the black snake asked in a male voice. "Chaos, I need you and Slytherin to hold this group off for about 10 minutes. I have to get Nerda to the headmaster ASAP," replied Anko. Chaos and Slytherin both cared for the blonde boy, who was always pleasant to be around and seemed to make their master happy when he was around. As a result, both snakes were very protective of the boy, and if they learned that someone had injured Nerda or Anko, they would both go to hell. "What happened? Is Nerda okay?" asked the purple snake Slytherin in a female voice. After her snakes nodded in understanding, she picked up Nerda as gently as she could and made her way to the headmaster tower, grinning as she heard cries of pain behind her. "He was attacked by those stupid villagers, so I am going to take him to see Biwako-san and see if I can get her to treat him," Anko replied. "Just don't let the villagers follow me. Give me about 10 minutes, then head home. I will summon you later and let you know how he is doing," she said. The Tower of the Headmaster. The only thing that Hiruzen Sarutobi didn't enjoy about his peaceful evening in the headmaster's office was the endless amount of paperwork that seemed to keep piling up on his desk. Although there hasn't been any trouble yet, the elderly headmaster knew that wouldn't last for long because nothing ever goes quiet for long. As soon as he thought that, a huge amount of killer intent flooded over the tower, and a few seconds later, the door to his office flew off the hinges as a furious-looking Anko entered the doorway. Hiruzen questioned, "Anko, what is the meaning of this?" "I need Biwako-san immediately. Nerda has been attacked again," shouted Anko. Hiruzen sighed at this. He had done everything in his power to protect Nerda, but the council had prevented him from doing anything more than finding him a place to stay after the orphanage had expelled him earlier in the year. He also knew that Anko had a stronger bond with the young blonde than anyone else, so he didn't want to deal with a furious Anko at this time. He gestured for an Umbu member to come get his wife, and a short while later, the Umbu returned with his wife. "What do you need, dear?" Biwako inquired. "Biwako-san, please, you have to help Nerdu. Some of the villagers attacked him again," Anko said before the headmaster could respond. After turning to see Anko covered in blood, Biwako noticed a small bundle of blonde hair in her arms that had been severely beaten, bruised, and cut. Since Nerdu was like a grandson to the elderly couple, Biwako hurriedly took him and placed him on the couch, trying to heal him as best she could. After 10 minutes or so, Biwako sat back in a chair, feeling a little worn out. inquiring, "How is he, Biwako-san?" An anxious Anko. "He will be fine. Luckily, the 9 demon must have been healing his wounds as you made your way here. He just needs some rest, and he will be good as new," replied Biwako. The snakes checked on Naruto to make sure he was okay as soon as the smoke cleared after Anko bit her thumb and performed a few hand gestures to call forth Chaos and Slytherin. "He's fine, guys. Biwako-san healed him and said he just needs some rest. Did the villagers give you any problems?" Anko responded to her call. "A few of them tried attacking us and chasing after you, but a few bites here and there changed their minds. Don't worry, Headmaster Sama. They won't die from the bites, they will just be sick for a few days," said Chaos. "Anko, I can't have you letting your summons attack the villagers, ninja or civilian," Hiruzen said angrily. "With all due respect, Headmaster Sama, I don't give a fuck," said Anko. "Calm down, Anko," the headmaster replied. "No, I won't calm down. Biwako-san and I are the only ones who will even help the boy. Biwako-san can only do so much since you let the council control everything. I have stood by long enough. I know what Naruto goes through better than anyone else in this village. I am taking under my wing and will train him to defend himself," replied Anko. "Anko, I can't let you do that, you know, Dash." Hiruzen's wife interrupted him by holding up a hand. Biwako grinned as Anko gave her a hug and took up Naruto. "Go ahead, Anko-chan. If anyone can help Naruto-kun, it is you. Protect him and train him well. If you need any help, you know where to find me. I can watch over him for you while you are on missions and stuff," Biwako stated. Hiruzen turned to his wife after Anko, Naruto, and the 2 snake summons walked or slithered out of the headmaster tower and returned to Anko's modest house. When the headmaster said, "Why did you allow her to do that, Biwako-chan?" "Because, dear, they can help each other more than they know. They both will benefit from this, you'll see. Plus, Anko is right. You have grown soft in your old age. You need to take control back from the council. You are the headmaster, you make the decisions, not the council. And as long as Anko and Naruto need my help, I will be there to help them," Biwako said in a stern voice as she left for home. "She is right, I have grown soft in my old age. I hope you can forgive me, Anko, Naruto, and even you, Naruto father and Naruto mom. I promise I will make things right," Hiruzen thought quietly to himself as he headed home after spending a few more minutes in his office reflecting on what his wife had just told him. Around 9 o'clock, Anko, her 2 snake summons, and a still unconscious Naruto returned to Anko's place. She put Naruto on the couch and went to make some tea for when the boy finally decided to wake up. Shortly after the tea was prepared, Naruto began to stir. He opened his eyes slowly and looked around, expecting to wake up on a hospital bed or on cold, hard ground, but he discovered he was lying on someone else's couch. He knew it wasn't his couch because he could have felt the springs pop through the cushions if it had been. As he gently got up from the couch, a single question crossed his mind. Where am I? It was one of the few individuals Naruto liked to be around, and he was pleased to hear that voice. Good to see you awake, Gaki, he said. What am I doing here, Anko-chan? Naruto questioned, looking up at her, as he turned to face the speaker and noticed Anko grinning from the kitchen doorway. He hurried over to embrace her. After you were attacked earlier this evening, I took you to Biwako-san and she healed your wounds. After that I brought you back here to rest. We need to talk, Naruto, but first there are 2 snakes who want to see you, Anko stated. Slytherin carefully wrapped herself around Naruto's body and rubbed her cheek against his, and at that moment, Naruto wrapped his arms around the snake's neck and gave him a hug in return. As Chaos slithered up and Naruto stroked the top of his head, Slytherin unwrapped herself from Naruto. Slytherin asked, Are you okay, Naruto? Why didn't you use the seals that Anko-san gave you to summon us if you were in trouble? Anko had created a few seals for Naruto following an attack one day. They weren't particularly elaborate. They simply activated when Naruto infused the seal with a tiny bit of core energy, calling forth Chaos or Slytherin to help the young blonde. I am fine, Slytherin, I promise. The reason I didn't use the seals was because one of the ninjas launched a fire spirit art at me just as I went to summon you, and the paper it was on got burned up. I'm sorry, Nerda responded with a tearful expression on his face. Seeing that Nerda was paying attention, Anko said, "The headmaster has allowed me to take you in, Nerdu. You don't have to live on the streets anymore. You can have a warm and dry place to stay and a warm meal every night, that is, if you want to stay here. You are not to blame, Nerdu, those stupid villagers are. That's part of what I want to talk to you about," she said as she and Nerda sat down on the couch. Nerda inquired, "So you would be like my mom?" Anko cracked a joke. "Not quite, Nerdu, more like an older sister. I'm too young to have any kids yet, whether they are mine or not, so what do you say?" Nerda gave her a broad smile before embracing her tightly and saying, "Of course I'll stay. I always wanted family." "I'm glad you decided to stay, Nerdu. I have one more thing I need to tell you. Starting tomorrow I will start your ninja training. I will train you with the 3 Academy spirit arts as well as other ninja training. I want you to be able to defend yourself from these annoying villages. Also, with getting a head start on training, you will have an advantage over some of the students in the academy when you start in 3 years. Anko said as she removed 2 items from her trench coat with a seal, and gave them to Nerdu. "But in that scroll is a type of martial arts known as Sanzho or freehand, which is a type of traditional kung fu and combines it with a modern combat fighting technique known as kickboxing, which includes close range and rapid successive punches and kicks, with wrestling, takedowns, throws, sweeps, kick catches, and even elbow and knee strikes," Anko said again as he opened the scroll and started to examine it. One contained a blank piece of white paper, and the other was a scroll. "With some training and help, I'm sure that fighting style will suit you after you grow a little bit," Anko explained, pausing to give that some thought. "Now that white piece of paper is called core energy paper. Pump a little bit of your core energy into it, and I will know what affinity you have so I can find some neat spirit art to teach you." Nerda inquired, "How do you tell what affinity is what?" "Fire, the paper will ignite and turn to ash. Wind, the paper will split in 2. Lightning, the paper will wrinkle. Earth, the paper will turn to dirt and crumble away. Water, the paper will become wet," responded Anko. After following instructions, Nerda pushed core energy into the paper while holding it in his palm. The paper then split into 3 sections. The first part turned to dust, the second piece became wet, and water mixed with the dust to form a tiny tree, and the final piece burst into flames and turned to ash. Anko was shocked to discover that he had an affinity for Mokutan, and Nerdu was shocked because, if he had read the paper correctly, he had 5 affinities, more than almost anyone else. Aside from the first headmaster, only one other person had the wood style, and that was only due to a certain snake team. Both of them sat quietly for a few minutes, completely shocked, but for quite different reasons. Nerda inquired, "Anko, what does that mean?" She didn't want to lie to Nerdu about his affinities, but she needed to confirm that what she had seen was accurate. "I'm not sure, Nerdu, but I think we need to see the headmaster first thing in the morning. It's getting late, let's get some sleep and we will see if the headmaster knows comes morning. There is a spare bedroom down the hall you can sleep in," Anko responded. "Good night, Anko ne," Nerda said as he nodded and headed to his new room, pausing at the door to turn back to face Anko. "Good night, Ototo." Anko smiled and went to her own bed. I'm pretty sure that's what little brother should be translated to. The following morning, in addition to having a satisfying breakfast without having to steal or eat spoiled food, Nerdu woke up after finally getting a good night's sleep for the first time in a long time. He and Anko were now headed to the tower to speak with the headmaster about Nerdu's elemental affinities from the previous night. Following some stern words and glares between Anko and the headmaster's secretary, they entered the building to meet the headmaster. "Good morning," Hiruzen said, smiling. "What brings you two here this early?" Headmaster Sama, I believe there is something you should see with Naruto-kun, responded Anko. And what would that be, Anko? Do the same thing you did last night, Ototo, Anko said, pulling out a piece of core energy paper. Naruto nodded and moved forward to give the headmaster a better view. He pushed his core energy into the paper once more and got the same results as before. When he looked up, he saw the same shocked expression on the headmaster's face that Anko had last night. Naruto became a little worried about why Anko and the elderly man were staring at him in that way. With concern in his voice, Naruto questioned, "Is something wrong with me or my affinities, because you both have looked at me like that?" "No, Naruto, no need to worry, everything is fine, it's just that you have an affinity only a couple of people had. You have an affinity known as Mokutan, or would release," Hiruzen said to the young brunette. "You mean the same Mokutan that the first headmaster had?" "Yep, just like the first headmaster, Naruto," Anko replied. "That is so cool, now I'll be an even cooler shinobi," Naruto exclaimed, jumping joyfully around the room. Anko and the headmaster laughed a little at his antics. After Naruto went, Anko turned back to the headmaster and asked, "How is it possible for him to have the Mokutan?" "Calm down, Gaki. Go wait for me in the hallway. I need to speak with Headmaster Sama, and then we will go start your training." "The only reason I can think of is the fact that he is the Senju and clans are distant blood relatives. I never heard of a having the Mokutan, but apparently it is indeed possible. I will send Yamato with you and Naruto to help with his training when Yamato isn't on a mission," replied Hiruzen. "When are you going to tell him of his family, Headmaster Sama? He has a right to know since he is heir to his clan and prince to a country." "I will tell him when he is older and able to defend himself from his enemies. Naruto's father made a lot of enemies when he was alive, and I don't know if they would come after his son in order to get some kind of revenge," Hiruzen responded. Anko gave the elderly Kage a fierce gaze before making her way to the door. "If you don't, Headmaster Sama, I will," she said. "You know you can't do that, Anko, it is a SS class secret." After saying, "I can and I will, he has a right to know of his heritage," Anko paused at the entrance and turned to face the other direction before departing to begin Naruto's training. Naruto was bouncing up and down and talking about how he couldn't wait to learn super cool spirit arts and how cool of a shinobi he would be with his Mokutan. He was actually beginning to irritate Anko, which he would discover later was definitely not a good thing. The two of them traveled to a training ground just outside of Hyde Ninja Village. With scarcely contained enthusiasm, Naruto questioned, "So Ankone, what am I going to learn first? Cool fighting moves or super powerful spirit arts?" Anko approached him and grabbed his forehead. "Enough of that, Gaki. While we are training, you will address me as Anko-sensei. We will be working on core energy control exercises and then the 3 Academy spirit art. Until you master those, you will not be learning anything new, understand?" "Ah, come on, Ankone," Naruto whimpered. "I said, do you understand?" Anko struck the back of his skull once more. "Hi, sensei," said Naruto hastily. When Naruto and Anko arrived home in the late evening, Anko was exhausted from the 3 Academy spirit arts and all of the core energy control exercises, so he just stumbled through the door and went to bed. He wanted to complain about not learning anything cool to help him become a better ninja, but he decided against it because he didn't want to see Anko upset. "If she pushes me like this now and we are only starting our training, I think I'm gonna hate to see what she is like later. Can I really handle 3 years of this?" Naruto thought as he allowed himself to fall asleep. After a year and a half. About a year and a half had passed since Naruto began training with Anko and Yamato. The first few months had been difficult for the 3 of them. It took him several months to master the core energy exercises, and he struggled most with the water walking exercise. He mastered the henge, kawarimi, and cloned spirit arts in a month, but struggled with the latter. After speaking with Anko, she and Yamato decided to teach him the wood clone and the shadow clone. After using the shadow clones a few times, Naruto discovered that the memories were transferred back to him. He knew that would be useful when learning new techniques and on missions. Now, we find Naruto walking home from Ichiraku Ramen, his favorite place to eat what he considers to be the food of the gods. Anko had decided to give him a day off because he had come a long way since beginning his training. He heard some yelling and crying as he passed the park, so he went to see what was happening and offer assistance if he could. After a few minutes of hurriedly looking for the source of the disturbance, he saw 3 boys, who appeared to be around 11 or 12, harassing a young blonde girl. Since Naruto couldn't stand bullies, he chose to step in before the lads could do any more harm. Naruto said behind the males, "Hey, why don't you guys try picking on someone your own size and leave the girl alone?" The boy Naruto believed to be the group's leader said, "Why don't you just go ahead and go on home before you get hurt too? How about you leave the girl alone and I won't have to kick your sorry asses," replied Naruto. The leader yelled, "That's it, get him boys," and one of the boys rushed at Naruto. When the boy threw a right jab at Naruto's face, Naruto shifted into his fighting stance and waited for him to get there. The boy then knocked his hand to the side, which caused the boy to lose his balance. As the boy staggered forward, Naruto stuck his foot out and gave him a light push on the back, leaving him face first in the dirt. The other boys smirked as they turned to Naruto after one of them helped his companion up. "Let's see how well you do 2 against 1, they said. As Naruto crossed his fingers and a clone materialized, he questioned, "Who said it was 2 against 1? When the other boy throws a punch at Naruto's face, one of the boys kicks him in the side. The clone catches the kick between his arm and side, leaving the boy standing wide-eyed and on one leg. The clone pushes forward on the boy's chest with his palm as he kicks his foot out from underneath him, causing him to land hard on his back. The boys rush Naruto, ignoring the clone, thinking it was just a simple clone. When the boy's punch lands over his shoulder, the actual Naruto takes a stride to the left and spins about, grabbing the boy's arm and flipping him over his shoulder so that he lands on top of his grounded friend. Naruto then turns to face the last person in the group. Returning to his fighting stance, Naruto questioned, "So, do you want to take your friends and get out of here or go you want an ass kicking too?" "This isn't over yet," the group leader yelled over the boy's shoulder as he and his buddies began to flee. Following the lad's departure, Naruto approached the little blonde girl. She closed her eyes, assuming he would be another bully, and he knelt down in front of her before speaking. Concerned for her safety, Naruto inquired, "Are you all right? You're not hurt, are you?" She rushed up to embrace Naruto after realizing that he wouldn't harm her. "Thank you for saving me. I thought those boys were going to hurt me, but thanks to you, I'm fine," she said. Naruto said, "I'm Naruto. What's your name?" "I'm Ino Yamanaka," Ino answered. Naruto began to go, saying, "Well, it was nice meeting you, Ino. I'll see ya around." With some concern, Ino said, "Wait, Naruto, would you walk me home? I don't know if those boys will follow me or not." In order to protect her from harm, Naruto made the decision to walk her home. As they walked, they conversed and grew closer, and Ino couldn't help but laugh at his food of the gods, ramen, and his aspirations to become headmaster. After about half an hour, they reached Ino's house, where her mother had been waiting for her daughter out the window and had opened the door as soon as she saw her. Nariko inquired, "Ino, where have you been?" Ino pointed to Naruto and said, "I'm sorry, Mommy. I was being bullied at the park and couldn't get away, but then my new friend Naruto came and protected me from them." "Thank you for protecting my little girl, Naruto. Would you like to come in?" replied Nariko. "Thank you for the offer, Yamanaka-san, but I must decline. I need to be getting home before Anko comes searching for me," Naruto responded with a bow. Come visit sometime and we can go play at the park or something, okay? Ino said, turning to Naruto and giving him another embrace. Naruto turned and went back to his house after saying, I'll stop by whenever I have some free time. See you later, Ino. Naruto sat in Irika's classroom next to the sullen Uchiha, waiting for Irika to enter and begin class. It had been 2 years since Naruto began the academy, and during that time he made a few new friends. He got along well with the 3 boys in his class, who were Shikamaru Nara, Chuji Akimichi, and Kiba Inuzuka. Ino was his first friend from the start of the academy, and they spent time together after he shielded her from the bullies. They were pleased to be in the same class. When Anko learned that Naruto had a crush on Sakura Haruno, a civilian girl, during the first few months of his first year, she did 2 things. First, she put him down and told him that Sakura only had eyes for her beloved Naruto friend Kun. And second, she made sure that Naruto would carefully consider the next girl he chose to have a crush on, and ensure that she would reciprocate his feelings. Sakura said, Move it, Baka, I want to sit next to Naruto friend Kun, so get lost. But Naruto was too preoccupied to notice the pinkette stop in front of him. Naruto said without even glancing up at her, Like I give a rat's ass what you want, I'm sitting here, so go find somewhere else to sit. Sakura became enraged and cocked her fist before attempting to punch Naruto. A puff of smoke appeared, and after it subsided, a friend of Naruto's was sitting in his place. Naruto had used the Kawarimi and switched places with his friend, and Uchiha had taken the punch to the face. When Sakura realized what had happened, she moved to approach Naruto, but he vanished in a blur, and she felt a sharp metal object touch her skin. Naruto growled in a serious tone. Listen here, Haruno, I'm sick of your attitude and thinking you need to be stuck up the Uchiha's ass all the time. Try to touch me again and it will be the last thing you ever touch. And then he left to sit next to Ino, where they began to talk and laugh as if nothing had happened. About halfway through the lesson, Naruto slept off. The only reason he was awake at this point was because of the daily sparring session they had in class. At the moment, Naruto was sitting leaned against the fence during a sparring match, and Ino was sitting next to him, resting her head on his shoulder. As the following battle began, Ino questioned, Who do you think you will spar against, Naruto? It doesn't really matter to me, I just wish Ankone would allow me to use a little more strength with the Sanho fighting style. The only way I don't have to hold back is if I face one of the kids from a clan, since they have more training than civilian kids, Naruto said. Not all clan kids have a fighting style, like the Yamanaka. We don't really have a certain fighting style. I wouldn't mind finding one that suits me though, Ino stated. What about the snake style, Ino? I have seen the way you watch Nei-chan when she is practicing her Tai spirit art, and I think it would be a good style for you, Naruto said after giving it some thought. Internally, Ino was pleased that Naruto had proposed the idea. She enjoyed spending time with Naruto, and Anko was always kind to her. If training with Konoha's snake mistress allowed her to spend more time with Naruto, she wouldn't mind. I'll think about it, Ino answered. At that point, Irika announced, Naruto friend Uchiha and Naruto, the names of the upcoming sparring battle. Are you going to use it? Ino said, glancing up at Naruto. As he made his way to the training area, Naruto replied, No, I'm not ready for anyone other than you, Nei-chan, and old man Kage to know that I have the Mokutan just yet. When Irika instructed them to start, Naruto simply stood there as his friend hurried in. When the friend threw a punch at him, Naruto sidestepped, and the friend spun on his foot, landing a kick in his side that sent him sliding a few feet back. The friend then leaped into the air and brought his foot down in an attempt to knock Naruto out. When the friend landed, Naruto crossed his arms over his head and flipped him off of him. When his friend hit the ground, Naruto was in front of him with an elbow that went deep into his stomach, causing him to double over in agony and gasp for air for a few seconds. Taking advantage of the situation, Naruto hurried in front of his friend, who flipped over to stand on his hands and, as he pushed up, connected his foot with his chin, sending him skyward. Naruto then followed the Uchiha into the air and kicked his head with an axe, sending him back to the ground. Naruto's friend got up and ran toward him. He kicked his friend's side, but the blonde grabbed his foot between his arm and side. Naruto lifted his free elbow and brought it down hard on his friend's leg just above his knee. The Uchiha gave a little yelp of pain as Naruto released him. The friend then moved toward Naruto again, a little more slowly this time. He attempted to punch him, but Naruto sidestepped the blow and put his hand on his chest. Then, Naruto kicked his good leg out from under him, and the friend fell on his back, folded in half. Naruto couldn't wait for the next 2 years to be over. The sooner he was away from the fan females, the happier he would be. Iruka called the match, and once they stopped yelling about how he had cheated, the class returned inside. The day prior to graduation, Naruto, Ino, and Anko were headed to the headmaster's office. After the two children told Anko the news, she instructed them to notify the headmaster right away. Naruto knocked on the door and waited until he heard someone enter before entering the headmaster's office. "What can I help you three with today?" Hiruzen inquired, looking up to see the trio in front of him. "Headmaster-sama, we have some information you may want to hear," said Naruto first as the three of them approached the front of the desk and stood at attention. Hiruzen's face took on a serious expression. Naruto never called him by his title unless it was an urgent subject. "I'm listening." "Mizuki-sensei has been tampering with Naruto's tests and paperwork for the last few months. His grades have been getting worse for a while, and now it's to the point where he would be considered the dead last of this year's group, and we all know that isn't true," stated Ino. The Kage inquired, "How do you know that it was Mizuki?" Anko questioned sarcastically. "There are only 2 people who handle the paperwork, and that's Iruka and Mizuki. Do you honestly think Iruka would do that to Naruto?" After giving it some thinking, Hiruzen concluded that Anko was correct. "Okay, I will have the Ombu deal with it immediately," he said. "Actually, Headmaster-sama, we have a plan to deal with Mizuki team, with your permission of course," Naruto replied. Hiruzen inquired, "And what would that be?" Ino remarked, "We want Iruka-sensei to fail Naruto tomorrow during the graduation exams," a little amused by the Kage's expression. Hiruzen asked in a startled tone, "Why would you want that to be done?" "Because if Iruka fails him tomorrow, then Mizuki will have a reason to seek out Naruto for whatever he has planned, even if he doesn't use Naruto for anything. You can just tell Iruka this was your plan and that Naruto should pass. Besides, the Gaki will have his girlfriend with him at the academy tomorrow, and I will keep an eye on him from the shadows," Anko said while chuckling at the blushes on the faces of the blondes. Although Anko was a unique jounin and both Naruto and Ino had received some training from her, Hiruzen wasn't sure if he should permit this to happen. Nevertheless, he ultimately made the decision to let them proceed with their plan, writing a brief note, calling an Ombu to deliver it to Iruka, and dismissing the 3. Exam day. While Iruka and Mizuki were watching the exams, the other students sat in the class talking, laughing, or in one case, sleeping. Then there were the fangirls, all attempting to get closer to the brooding Uchiha. Naruto and Ino sat in class waiting for the exams to start, but Iruka pulled them to the side that morning to make sure this wasn't some kind of prank. After passing her exam, Sakura returned to the classroom and made a ruckus. She demanded the seat next to her buddy, who was also sitting there, saying, "Move it, Baka, that's my seat." Ino, who was seated next to him, laughed when Naruto got up and looked around the chair before sitting back down. "I didn't see your name anywhere, so I'm assuming it isn't yours," Naruto replied. Sakura screamed, "Why are you even here? It's not like you're going to pass or anything." Naruto rose up and turned to go, saying, "I'm sorry, did you say something, Haruno?" "Never mind, I don't care if you did or not, I got bigger things to worry with." "You better keep your hands to yourself, Haruno," Ino growled as she and Naruto went to sit in the classroom's corner. Sakura was furious and swung her fist at Naruto, but was shocked when Ino caught it in the palm of her hand. Ino then pulled Sakura towards her and folded her arm up behind her back, causing the pinkette to yell in pain. Naruto was called to begin his exam a few minutes later. He entered and stood in front of Iruka and Mizuki, where he was instructed on which spirit art to perform and that the results would determine his grade. Naruto completed the exam, and when Iruka informed him that he had failed, his face darkened as Mizuki grinned. Iruka then departed to pick up the next student. Listen, Naruto, I'm sorry you didn't pass. If you want, though, I can give you extra credit if you do something for me, kinda like a make-up test, Mizuki replied. As he thought, gotcha, team, a smile spread across his face. Anything that will let me pass to be a ninja, Naruto said, looking up at Mizuki. Mizuki handed Naruto a scrap of paper and stated, There is a large scroll hidden in the headmaster's office. If you can bring it to me at this location tonight, I will tell the headmaster you passed. After nodding, Naruto hurried out of the room, told Iruka he was going, slipped the piece of paper into Ino's hand, and then darted out of the room toward the headmaster tower. Naruto jumped in through the window, but the headmaster was nowhere to be seen. He left a note for the Kage explaining his plans before he grabbed the scroll and fled. Naruto arrived at the place where he was supposed to meet Mizuki a little early, and was extremely bored. Letting his curiosity override his sense of reason, he opened the scroll and started to look through its contents. He discovered a sealed scroll that said, Family Summoning Contract. So he opened it to see what it was. However, before he could examine it further, he felt a presence approaching. Well done, Naruto, give me the scroll, said Mizuki as she arrived in front of Naruto a few seconds later. Answer one question first. What do you need with the scroll of seals, team? Naruto responded. Not that it's any of your business, but Orochimaru-sama needs the scroll for something he's working on, so give me the scroll so I can be on my way and you can go play ninja somewhere else, Mizuki responded. And what if I decide not to give you the scroll and tell Headmaster-sama about all this? Replied Naruto. Give me the scroll and I will tell you why everyone in the village hates you, Mizuki said. Anko then leaped from her hiding place and said, Hidden shadow snakes, as snakes shot toward Mizuki from her sleeve. Mizuki then removed the big shuriken from his back and sliced the snakes apart. Don't even think about saying anything about that, Mizuki, Anko growled. Mizuki questioned, Don't you think he has the right to know? Ino was coming up behind Mizuki while he was preoccupied. When she got close enough, she leaped into the air and gave him a spinning kick to the back of his head. Mizuki staggered forward and was struck by Anko's devastating right hook. Suddenly, he was encased in branches and immobile. Mizuki inquired, How do you have the Mokutan? Naruto grinned and remarked, I'm a distant blood relative of the Senju. Now you pay for betraying the leaf. Mizuki questioned, And what can you possibly do? Since there were clones everywhere they looked, Naruto remarked, Shadow clone spirit art, and suggested that the two of them take a step back. Why? Inquired Ino. Clone great explosion, Naruto remarked with a single hand gesture as the woodland started to tremble from the explosion after he and the two females had retreated. Gigi taught me that spirit art causes the shadow clones to explode. Don't worry, I held the clones back enough so they wouldn't kill him, Naruto explained as he made his way back to the Kage Tower, as Anko and Ino stared at him bewildered. After Hiruzen sent Samanbu to fetch Mizuki, Naruto returned the scroll and said, Headmaster-sama, I need some answers. Mizuki was going to tell me why everyone hates me, but Anko-ne stopped him. I also found this and was wondering if I come from a clan or something, as he set the scroll on the table. Naruto, Anko, and Ino entered Hiruzen's office. Knowing there was no way out of this, Hiruzen groaned and said, Ino, could you please excuse? She can stay, she can either hear it now or I will just tell her later, Nurdu replied. Very well, Nurdu, you come from a clan known as the Clan. They were masters in Fuin spirit art and were feared for that very fact. They were from a village called Yuzushiogakur in the land of whirlpools. During the last war, most of the villagers were eliminated. One of the survivors was your mother, Lady Nurdamam, Princess of Yuzushiogakur. Your father was Nurdafather, the fourth headmaster of Hyde Ninja Village. Your mother was the Jinchuriki, basically a prison of the nine-tailed demon fox. When she gave birth to you, a masked man attacked and ripped the demon fox from your mother. Your father fought with the masked man and beat him enough to make the man make his escape. The only way for your father to beat the fox was to seal it once again. He decided to seal it inside of you since it wouldn't ask someone else to do what he wouldn't. He used the Reaper Death Seal and within your mother's last breaths, sealed away the 9 demon. The scroll is something we found in the compound and sealed away. Your parents wanted you to be seen as a hero, not as the demon you hold. They both loved you very much, Nurdu, Hiruzen said. So I'm heir to a clan and a prince to a country. Why didn't anyone tell me this sooner? Asked Nurdu. We wanted you to be able to protect yourself first. We had no idea if anyone would try to kill you because of your father. He made a lot of enemies during his time, Hiruzen stated. I want what is rightfully mine, Headmaster Sama, the compound, the scroll, everything, replied Nurdu. You will get everything that is left that belongs to you, Nurdu. You are taking this quite well, remarked Anko. Sure, they're my parents and I'm happy that I had family that loved me, but they screwed my life over pretty bad. Ankone is my family now and that's what matters. I'm heading home, have to get ready for team placements tomorrow, Nurdu said as he headed out the door. Hiruzen questioned. You can't tell anyone else about this, Ino, understand? Of course, Headmaster Sama, Ino said, bowing as she walked down the street toward her house. Hated for something he had no control over. How stupid are these villagers? Plus, he's a prince to a country. Wonder if I could be his princess? Ino asked. The following day, 2 of the first persons in the classroom that morning were Nurdu and Ino. The only other 2 were Shino and Shikamaru. As more people entered the room, Nurdu continued to get more and more looks, until Kiba made the decision to inquire about his presence. What are you doing here, Nurdu? This is only for the ones who passed, Kiba replied. I did pass. Irika only failed me because the headmaster asked him to. Don't ask because I can't tell you anything about it. Don't believe me, just ask Irika, replied Nurdu. Irika started reviewing the list of teams once he arrived and recounted what Nurdu performed in the face pass. Team 7, Nurdu friend Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Chuji Akimichi, Sensei's 6th headmaster. Team 8, Shikamaru Nara, Hinata Hyuga, and Shino Aburame, Sensei Kurina Yuhi. Team 9 is still in rotation from last year. Team 10, Nurdu, Ino Yamanaka, and Kiba Inazuka, Sensei Asuma Saratobi. Everyone meet back here in 3 hours to meet your sensei, Irika stated prior to leave the classroom. As they waited for their sensei, a few of the other teams were picked up by their sensei, leaving only teams 7, 8, and 10 in the classroom. Nurdu, Ino, Akamaru, and Kiba had spent the 3 hours getting to know one another a little better, and were simply waiting for their sensei to come get them. A short while later, 2 individuals entered. One was a tall, slim, black-haired woman with deep crimson eyes, purple eyeshadow, and red lipstick. She wore a red mesh armor blouse with only one sleeve covering her right arm, and over her shirt was some kind of fabric material with a rose thorn-like pattern that extended from her shoulders to roughly mid-thigh. Bandages were wrapped around her hands and upper thighs. A tall, black-haired man with a beard and a cigarette in his mouth was the second individual. He was dressed in the typical ninja attire, with his sleeves rolled up and a flak jacket over his shirt. The only distinction was the sash he wore around his waist, which featured the characters for fire on the front. I'm Karina Yuhi, Team 8 follow me, the woman said first. Team 10 left the academy and ran toward Training Ground 10. Asuma said, I'm Asuma Sarutobi, Team 10, meet me at Training Ground 10 in 15 minutes, before vanishing in a whirlpool of leaves. They reached the training area a little while later and discovered their sensei smoking beneath a tree. They approached Asuma and sat with him in the tree's shade. Ino questioned, What are we going to do first, sensei? First, we are going to tell the others a little bit about us, our hobbies and dreams, likes and dislikes, stuff like that. I'll go first. I'm Asuma Sarutobi, son of the third headmaster and next head of the Sarutobi clan. I like smoking and a certain special woman. There isn't much that I dislike. The biggest would be those who mistreat others. My dream is to one day retire and settle down with a family. Asuma clarified while lighting another cigarette and heading toward Kiba. My name is Kiba Inuzuka, and this is Akamaru. I am the clan's next leader after my older sister Hana. I enjoy playing with Akamaru and helping my mom with the Niken. I dislike people who harm other people or animals. My goal is to become the head of the Inuzuka clan, Kiba stated, and Akamaru added a few barks of agreement before Asuma pointed to Ino. As she turned to face Naruto, Ino blushed slightly. I'm Ino Yamanaka, the heiress to the Yamanaka clan. I enjoy working with different plants and flowers and helping my parents in the flower shop. I also enjoy spending time with Naruto and the rest of my friends. The thing I dislike the most are people who think they are better than everyone else. My dream is to have a family and take over the flower shop after my parents, she said. Naruto stated solemnly. Some of the things I am about to say are SS class secrets and cannot be repeated outside of this group. Naruto, you can't say anything about that secret, which is why it is SS class in the first place, Asuma said, giving Naruto his whole focus. Asuma nodded in agreement. I have already talked to Headmaster Sama about it. If we are going to be a team sensei, then there needs to be no secrets between us, Naruto said. I'm Naruto, heir to the clan and prince of Yuzushiogakure in the land of whirlpools. I'm the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed demon fox, the nine demon. I also have the Mokutan Kekii Genkai. My father was the Yandame headmaster and my mother was Naruto Mom, princess of Yuzushiogakure. I like ramen, Ino-chan, Ankone, and my other friends. I don't like the 3 minutes it takes for ramen to cook, a certain snake team. My dream is to take over as headmaster one day in the village and family I hope to one day have, said Naruto. Both Asuma and Kiba were taken aback. Asuma was aware of the 9 demons and Naruto's ancestry, but he was unaware that Naruto was a prince or shared the Shodaime headmaster's Kekii Genkai. Kiba was taken aback by the full disclosure. Now that everything was beginning to make sense, he understood why the villagers despised him and why no one ever wanted to be around the blonde. Naruto turned to face Kiba and stated, Now that you know this, what do you think of me now? I don't see you any differently, Naruto. You're still the same blonde goofball that I've been friends with since the beginning of the academy. Only thing hard to believe is that you're royalty, Kiba joked. When Asuma said, Well, now that all that is out of the way, you all need to report back here tomorrow for your final test to see if you become genin or not. The 3 children were shocked. What do you mean final test? Isn't that what the graduation exams was for? Replied Kiba. Asuma clarified before vanishing in a whirlpool of leaves. That was to see if you had the potential to become ninja. Only 33% of academy graduates actually go on to become genin. Your final test will be given to you tomorrow morning. Meet me back here at 9 o'clock. Ino turned to face Kiba and Naruto and asked, What do you think the test will be? As he turned to go, Naruto said, Hard to tell, could be anything from fighting sensei to him setting up some sort of training mission. Won't know till we get here tomorrow. Kiba inquired, Where you going, Naruto? Naruto shrugged his shoulders and replied, There's something I want to try and I figured I might as well do it while I have the time. With Akamaru yelling his farewell, Kiba remarked, "Well, I'm heading home. See you 2 in the morning." Ino hoped he would say yes when she inquired, "Care if I tag along, Naruto?" When Ino caught up to Naruto, he said, "I don't mind, actually, you might be able to help me with this." Inquisitive about her fellow blonde's plans, Ino questioned, "Really, what do you need my help with?" "I want to enter my mind. I have never tried anything like that before, and with you coming from a clan of mind walkers, I thought you might be able to help me," Naruto said. "I should be able to help, but can I ask why you want to enter your mind all of a sudden?" responded Ino. The response from Naruto shocked Ino even more. "I want to see if I can communicate with the demon fox. I want to try and find out why the fox decided to attack Hyde Ninja Village like it did." Then, Ino essentially yelled at her blonde buddy, "You can't be serious, Naruto. You actually want to try and talk with the 9 demon, the strongest bijou around, just to chat?" With a shoulder shrug, Naruto said, "Yeah, that about says it. So you want to help?" As she raced off to Naruto and Anko's apartment, Ino laughed and said, "I don't know why, but yeah, I'll help. I should probably be afraid more of your mind than the demon fox, though." Before realizing what Ino had said, Naruto began to respond, "Thanks, Ino-ch. Hey, what the hell is that supposed to mean? My mind ain't that bad," Naruto screamed as he followed his companion. "So how does this work, Ino-chan?" the 2 preteens asked as they were setting up on the floor of Anko's living room a little while later. Since Anko was on a mission at the time, they weren't concerned about anybody else diverting them. "First, I'll go into your mindscape. After that, you will start to feel a small pull from the inside of your body. Don't fight it, and just allow me to pull you into your mindscape. From there, we just have to find where the fox is and you should be able to speak to him," explained Ino. Following Naruto's approval, Ino performed a few hand signals before applying Mind Walk Spirit Art, or hands on his temples. At first, Naruto wasn't sure if it had been successful, but after a minute or 2, he sensed the pull Ino was referring to, closed his eyes, and let himself be drawn into his own world. The mindscape of Naruto. "No offense, Naruto-kun, but your mind is seriously a dump," Naruto said as he opened his eyes to discover that he was in a hallway with pipes running down the walls and ceiling and that there was roughly 2 inches of water on the floor. As they started down the corridor, Naruto turned to see Ino scanning the area. "I can't help it, first time I've ever been here. Come on, we need to find that fox," Naruto remarked. After going for 10 minutes or so, they arrived at a vast chamber with a huge gate that extended from the ceiling to the floor. Ino looked around the area and remarked, "Well, I'm guessing this is most likely the place you're looking for, Naruto-kun," holding a paper tag with the kanji for seal on it. 2 huge, crimson eyes emerged in the shadows behind the gate's bars as the 2 children approached it. A moment later, a big red-orange furred fox emerged from the shadows and sat down in front of the gate, its 9 tails flowing around it. The 2 children stared up at the fox in terror, with Ino, who was a little more terrified, moving slightly behind Naruto. "There is no reason to be afraid. I can't attack you even if I wanted to because of this seal. Why are you here, young one?" asked the fox with a deep voice. Naruto sat down in front of the gate and said, "I just want to talk 9 Demon-san. I would like to get some answers about a few questions I have." "I will answer each question to the best of my ability, and the name's 9 Beast, not 9 Demon-san," replied the fox. "Why did you attack the village 12 years ago?" "I wasn't in control of myself at the time of the attack. The seal on a Jinchuriki and weakest during childbirth. During the time of your birth, a masked man with the Sharingan ripped me out of your mother and placed me under his control. Your father fought with the masked man, but by the time he beat the man, the damage had been done. Your parents used what little bit of strength they had left and gave their lives to reseal me into you. I promised your mother I would look after you and get revenge the masked man. However, the seal that your father used put me to sleep for the last 12 years. The only help I could offer was healing your wounds. explained the Nine Demon. You said this man had the Sharingan which would make him a Uchiha. The Uchiha clan were wiped out a few years ago by one of their clan members, so this masked man may already be dead, Ino commented from her position next to Naruto. I don't think so. The man that ripped me from Naruto didn't smell like he was from Hyde Ninja Village. People from each of the 5 major villages have a distinct smell to them from their village. This man didn't smell like any of the villages. He is still out there somewhere, Nine Beast said as he placed his on his feet. Naruto asked the bijou. Will you help me to get stronger, Nine Beast? Curiosity prompted Nine Beast to inquire. Why do you wish to become stronger, Kit? If there are people like this masked man out in the world, I want to be able to protect those that are precious to me. Since we are going to be stuck together for the foreseeable future, I won't demand that you help me. I just ask that you will help. I don't want it to be a constant game of tug-of-war between the two of us, Naruto said with a serious voice. The Nine Demon said, Very well, I will help you. It will not be easy and there will be a lot to learn. One thing you must know is that rage is a biju's strongest emotion, which makes it a stronger emotion for the Jinchuriki as well. Until you fully master the powers of the biju, the rage can overrun you at any time. As one of his tails reached through the bars and touched Naruto's forehead, the great biju appeared pleased by this response, as he raised his head and nodded. What was that for? Ino said, perplexed. That will allow Naruto and I to communicate telepathically. Either one of us can cut the connection at any time, so we will still have our privacy. It also gives Naruto heightened senses to that of a kitsune, like greater smelling and hearing. Now it's time for you to go. It's getting late, and you two have your test tomorrow and need rest, explained Nine Beast as he began pushing them out of the mental realm. Naruto bowed and murmured, Thanks you, Nine Beast, before he and Ino disappeared. As the 2 children disappeared, Nine Beast wondered, Could he be the one you talked about, Father? The real world. It was already dark when Naruto and Ino opened their eyes. Would you like me to walk you home, or do you just want to stay the night? Naruto said. Mom and Dad both are out on missions, so if you don't mind I will spend the night here, replied Ino. As Naruto sprawled out on the couch, he added, I don't mind, you can have my bed tonight and I'll sleep on the couch. Good night, Naruto-kun, Ino said as she got up and began to move down the hallway. Good night, Ino-chan. The following morning, Asuma appeared a few feet away from them in a swirl of leaves after they had been waiting for their sensei to give them their test for about 10 minutes. They were a little irritated that they still had another test to take, but all 3 were prepared to do whatever it took to become genin. So, Sensei, what's our test? Also, where is the real Sensei? You have a cigarette, but I can't smell any of the smoke, or anything, meaning you must be a clone or something, replied Kiba. The real me is around here somewhere. As for your test, you have till noon to find me. I have a scroll on my person that you must retrieve. Do that and you pass. You need to come at me with the intent to kill, as I will do the same with you. Your time starts now, Asuma said as she walked away. Ino turned to her teammates and asked, So how do you 2 want to go about this? As the 3 of them leaped into the jungle, Naruto responded, Asuma-sensei is a high ninja, so the only way we are going to even have a shot at passing is with teamwork. First we need to find him though, let's go. About 15 minutes after his clone dispersed, Asuma had been hiding in the forest, waiting for any sign of his team. He was sitting near the top of a tree when he sensed 3 core energy signatures approaching him. A few seconds later, he saw his team pass directly beneath him, jumping from tree to tree without even noticing him. He began to follow, but had to leap away to avoid the kunai that had embedded itself where he had been moments earlier. Asuma remarked, So I'm guessing the other 3 were shadow clones then? After noticing the trio standing in a nearby tree and looking in the direction the kunai had come from, Naruto nodded. Well, no sense in trying to hide anymore. Let's see what you 3 got, Asuma said, drawing out a pair of trench knives and adopting his Thai spirit art posture. Kiba was the first to move, leaping directly at Asuma. He attempted a right hook to Asuma's cheek, but Asuma easily sidestepped the blow. Kiba then spun low and attempted to remove his sensei's legs, but Asuma leaped up and away from Kiba and landed on a nearby tree branch. He then had to avoid a kick to his head from Naruto, who landed and shoved off the tree at Asuma with the intention of planting his knee in his stomach. When the smoke cleared, a log was where Asuma had just been. When Asuma landed a few feet away, she blocked an Ino punch. Ino then tried to hit him with her other fist, but that one was also blocked. Asuma was taken aback by what she did next, as she did a backflip and kicked him in the chin, snapping his head back and releasing herself in the process. As Asuma stumbled backwards, Ino rushed in and attempted to kick her, but her leg was grabbed, and she was flung into Kiba. As the two collided, they burst into smoke, shocking Asuma. Then Asuma turned to Naruto and asked, "So where are the real Kiba and Ino?" Naruto grinned and said, "Right behind you, actually." "Come on now, do you really think I would fall for that?" questioned Asuma. Asuma narrowly avoided the spinning combo of Kiba and Akamaru when he heard the yell, "Fang over Fang!" behind him. As he fell back to the ground, he caught a glimpse of Naruto using hand signals. Wood style, wood spikes. Asuma began to move again to avoid each spike that rose from the ground and trees. He was not aware that Ino was above him as he continued to dodge each spike, so Naruto stopped his attack when he saw her approaching their sensei, confusing Asuma. "Lightning style, lightning palm!" Aso yelled out her spirit art, and Asuma turned to face her, only to be struck quickly by her lightning-covered hand. "Almost feels like getting hit by a hyuga," Asuma said, leaping away and massaging his injured areas. "It's based off the hyuga gentle fist, but since I can't see the tenketsu, I focus on the body's pressure points instead. Plus, with my lightning affinity and the snake style that Anko taught me, it makes for a really effective attack," Ino said with a grin. With a huge cloud of gunpowder erupting from his mouth, Asuma yelled, "You three are a lot better than I originally thought, but let's see how you handle this, fire style, ash pile burning." He then clicked a piece of flint in his mouth, causing the powder to ignite and make a direct course for his team. When the explosion stopped, Naruto released his spirit art and discovered that the area was still covered in smoke and dust. "Earth style, earth wall!" he yelled, quickly blocking the spirit art. "Wind style, great breakthrough!" Naruto said, sending a wave of wind into the smoke cloud and blowing it away. "Wood style, four-pillar prison!" Naruto remarked as Asuma was surrounded by a prison of wood. As the smoke cleared, Kiba and Akamaru sprinted towards Asuma and began spinning once more. Asuma attempted to avoid it in time but was struck in the leg, tripping over the cut as he landed. "We win, sensei," Kiba declared triumphantly. When Asuma asked, "How so?" "I still have the scroll." "Mind transfer spirit art," Ino said as she approached her two teammates and ran through a brief series of hand signals. Before her body went limp and Naruto caught her, Asuma started searching through his pockets before removing a scroll and throwing it to Kiba. A few seconds later, Ino was back in her own body, and the three of them stood grinning at that sensei. Asuma grinned and said, "Congratulations, you three, you pass. Meet tomorrow morning at 8 at the headmaster tower for your first mission." Asuma was excited to see what his new squad might accomplish, and the three genin were ready to begin their ninja careers. Then Naruto undid his spirit art, and the four ninja departed the forest. A month had passed since Team 10 began their missions, if you can call them that, as they were merely everyday tasks. With the help of Naruto and his clones, Team 10 was able to finish nearly 100 D-rank missions and still have plenty of time for training. At the moment, Naruto was sitting on top of his and Anko's house, reading through some scrolls that he had received from Hiruzen, which belonged to his parents. When he wasn't occupied with missions and training, He was reading over his parents' estate, which he hadn't even had time to look at. His father had left him scrolls on two of his most powerful spirit arts, the Harem and the Rasengan, and his mother had left him information about the clan's origins and the exact amount that Naruto would inherit. He also received a scroll about Fuin's spirit art from both of his parents, and as soon as he read it, he hoped to become proficient in the art and remove Anko's seal from the snake team. When he sensed a core energy signature join him on the roof, he unsealed the summoning scroll he had obtained from the Scroll of Seals, which was the last scroll he needed to examine. "Morning, Naruto-kun, what are you doing?" Ino said as she sat down next to her fellow blonde. While attempting to determine which summoning contract his family possessed, Naruto said, "Just looking over some of these scrolls before we meet Asuma-sensei for our next mission. It is the Fox Summoning Contract Kit. I created it myself after befriending my first container Mito. When you open the scroll, you will need to sign your name in blood with your handprint beside it. That is if you would like to have the Fox clan as a summoning contract," 9B said. "All right, Naruto, just make the hand signs on the scroll, then slam your hand on the ground, just like your Nei-chan does for her snakes," 9B said, explaining what was happening to Ino while Naruto simply nodded before continuing. After running through the hand signs and slamming his hand down, Naruto exclaimed, "Summoning spirit art!" A tiny puff of smoke appeared, and when it did, a small brown fox with 5 tails was sitting there. The fox looked around for a minute before focusing on the two blondes in front of him. "Hello, I am Jin Maki. I am the advisor to Ari, Queen of the Foxes. May I ask who you are?" replied Jin Maki. "This is Ino Yamanaka, and my name is Naruto. It's nice to meet you," Naruto said, and Ino simply waved. "I don't mean to be rude, but as have red hair, how do I know you are telling the truth?" replied the tiny fox. From inside Naruto's head, 9B stated, "Kit, make a shadow clone. I'll take over the clones so I can talk with Genmaki." A few seconds later, a shadow clone appeared among the group. The only difference was the red eyes. In a deep, evil voice, the clone explained, "Hello, Genmaki. This Kit before you is indeed in. I'm sure you remember his mother, Naruto Mom, don't you? Naruto here got all his looks from Naruto Mom's husband." "Lord Nine Beast, is that you?" the demonic voice said, as Genmaki's eyes widened. In response, Nine Beast said, "Yes, Genmaki, it is me. We had no idea you were resealed, my lord. Queen Ari thought you had been beaten enough and you hadn't reformed yet. She has been looking nonstop trying to find any sign of where you may reform at," explained Genmaki. Nine Beast asked, "Does the clan have such little faith in me?" Genmaki hastily clarified, bowing to the Naruto clone. "I didn't mean it like that, my lord. It's just that we haven't had any idea what happened to you 12 years ago." "I'm not being rude, but who is this Ari you keep talking about, Nine Beast?" Naruto responded. "She is an 8-tailed vixen and the strongest fox of our clan after myself. She is also my mate and my queen," Nine Beast said before returning to the tiny animal. "Tell your queen that once Naruto learns the summoning spirit art a little better, we will summon her if she would like. Also let her know that the foxes have a new summoner. We should get going as well, Naruto-kun. We need to meet Asuma-sensei to get our next mission," Ino stated as the little fox bowed and departed in a puff of smoke. "Have you been to look at your estate yet?" Ino asked to break the silence as Naruto and Ino started to meet Asuma and Kiba after the clone 9 beast that had been controlled vanished in a puff of smoke. "No, with all the training and missions I haven't had time. I haven't even had time to ask Nei-chan if she would like to move in with me since I'm sure the place will have plenty of room," said Naruto. "Well, when are you gonna go look at it?" As he and Ino reached the headmaster tower, Naruto remarked, "If I have time, I am going to try and look at it after our next mission is over." They ascended the stairs to the mission room, where Kiba and Asuma were waiting for them. Sakura had to squeal in agreement with her Naruto friend Kuin when Team 10 intervened just in time to hear the last Uchiha demand to be given something other than a D-rank mission. The only person not making a scene was Choji, who was contentedly eating his bag of potato chips. Sakura and her Naruto friend were both silenced as soon as they sensed the headmaster's murderous intent filling the room. After listening to the Uchiha being placed in his face for a few minutes, Naruto had an idea to enrage Naruto friend even more. Naruto approached Hiruzen and bowed, asking, "Headmaster Sama, permission to speak?" "Go ahead, Naruto-kun." Naruto smirked slightly, knowing that the headmaster would agree, and added, "I have a deal for you. Allow teams 10 and 7 to take a cooperative mission of a ranking higher than D rank, and I will tell you how to defeat that unbeatable enemy you call paperwork." Hiruzen screamed, "Deal, now what is the secret?" Sakura and Naruto's companion were both incensed at how readily Naruto had persuaded the headmaster to comply. Asuma said, "Our mission first, Headmaster Sama." As a tall, inebriated man entered the room, Hiruzen stated, "All right, teams 10 and 7 are to escort a bridge builder by the name of Tazuna back to the Land of Waves, protect him from anything or anyone that may try to harm him till the completion of his bridge. These brats are supposed to be my protection. They look like they can't do anything, especially the two girls," Tazuna murmured. "Let me go, Naruto. I'm gonna show this old fart just what I can do when I shove this kunai up his ass," yelled Ino, who had to be restrained by Naruto to prevent her from hitting the bridge builder. Naruto's response, Now, Ino-chan, you can't kill the client. If you want to hurt him, you will have to wait till the mission is over," seems to soothe Ino a little. The headmaster said, "Now, Naruto, I think you know the secret I have been searching for? I thought that the god of shinobi would have figured out such a simple solution. Just use shadow clones, Gigi. They do the work, and you get the memories." Naruto chuckled. As everyone but Sakura and his Naruto friend chuckled at his response, the headmaster, who was surprised that he hadn't considered that earlier, simply let his head drop to the table in front of him. As the two high ninja vanished in a shunshin, Asuma remarked, "Okay, teams meet at the gate in an hour and pack for a month trip." And the sixth headmaster nodded in accord. Naruto and Ino were walking back to Ino's residence after everyone had left the mission room so that she could pack and inform her parents. They arrived at the Yamanaka flower shop and entered the main house area at the rear of the store after a short while of strolling. Ino exclaimed, "Mom, Dad, I'm back," as she and Naruto entered the living room. With a bow, Naruto said, "Morning, Nariko-san." The more he spent time with the Yamanakas, the more Nariko claimed him as a son and secretly hoped that one day he would be, at least, a son-in-law. Naruto stopped the bowing and the formalities. "I've told you it's either Nariko or Mom. You know I see you like a son," Nariko said as she hugged Ino and Naruto. Since Naruto had rescued her little girl from the boys who were bullying her, the two had been hanging out more and becoming closer. "Sorry, Mom. We just stopped by so Ino could pack and let you know we have a mission," said Naruto. Nariko inquired, "How long will this mission take?" With her storage scroll by her side, Ino returned downstairs from her room and explained, "Not sure, Mom. Asuma-sensei said we need to pack for a month at least. We're heading to the Land of Waves to protect a bridge builder until he finishes his current project." The blonde pair then went to Anko's house so Naruto could pack as well. "Well, your father is on a mission right now, so I will let him know when he returns. You two be careful and look out for each other," Nariko added as she gave them each a hug before they departed. "Hey, Nei-chan, got a mission to Land of Waves, told to pack for a month, not really sure how long we'll be away," Naruto stated as he hurried up the stairs. They arrived at Anko's apartment and discovered him eating dango at the kitchen table. After approaching and taking a seat across from Anko, Ino said, "Morning, Nei-chan." As they waited for Naruto, Anko said, "Morning, Ino-chan. So, finally got a mission outside the village, huh?" After a few minutes, Naruto returned with his own storage scroll and was prepared to leave, but before he did, he paused and turned to face Anko. Naruto said, Nei-chan, may I ask you a question? Anko asked. What is it, Ototo? I was going to go and look at my family's compound when I get back. I'm sure it will be a decent-sized place and was wondering if you would care to move there with me, Nei-chan, replied Naruto. Before choosing a response, Anko gave it some thinking. I'll give you my answer after we see what the compound looks like, okay? She said. Naruto nodded, then embraced Anko and hurried out the door with Ino following. When they reached the gate, their friends Kiba and Akamaru were already there. They had to wait another 10 minutes for the other members of their team, their sensei, and Tazuna to arrive, at which point they left for Wave Country. XXX. As the group continued to walk, Asuma and his team noticed a puddle on the side of the road. This would have been normal except for the fact that it hadn't rained in about 2 weeks. They gave each other small nods and continued to walk as if they hadn't noticed the puddle. As they passed it, 2 cloaked figures emerged, and a chain of shurikens surrounded the 2 high ninja sensei before slicing them into pieces. Team 7 started to become a little alarmed and formed a defensive formation around Tazuna. Earth style, Earth spikes, Naruto said as spikes started to rise from the earth, causing the demon brothers to jump backwards, dodging the attacks. The demon brothers, missing mean from Kirigakure, Naruto said, recalling hearing about them from Anko. He then started going through hand signals as the demon brother rushed Naruto. Lightning style, 1,000 needles of paralysis. Ino yelled as lightning blasted from her hands as it transformed into needles and made its way toward the demon brothers. The needles struck their target, causing the brothers to start convulsing as they made their way to the ground. Ino appeared in the air above the missing neens, completing her own set of hand signs. Fang over Fang was the final cry heard as the demon brothers approached the ground. Kiba and Akamaru charged at the falling pair, whirling at a high speed and striking the 2 missing neens in the chest, knocking them unconscious as they flew into a tree. You can come out now, guys, Rin said, turning to a nearby tree after Kiba and he had tied the 2 up. A few seconds later, Asuma and the 6th head master showed up smiling. Good job, you 3, very well done with the teamwork, Asuma said. Then, Asuma and the 6th head master pulled Tazuna aside for a brief conversation. Following the discussion between the 3 and everyone's vote to proceed with the mission, the group took off once more. In an attempt to get to Tazuna's place as soon as possible, they walked for a few more hours at a faster pace. As the fog grew thicker, Naruto saw movement in the bushes and followed it through a kunai. He went to the bush and discovered a dead rabbit, ignoring Sakura's cries that she was frightening them. The fox cried, "Get down now!" 9 beasts stopped as he heard a noise approaching them. Kit, that rabbit is a snow rabbit. Its fur should have changed, meaning it has been kept inside. That could only be. Everyone down! Naruto said as he seized Ino and dragged her down with him as a huge sword swung over their heads and lodged itself in a tree. When the genin and their sensei stood up again, they noticed a person standing on the handle of the sword and another person standing close to the tree's base. As soon as Asuma and the 6th head master saw the 2 individuals, their eyes widened. Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist, the 6th head master began. Asuma concluded by saying, and Ichigo Kurosaki, the soul reaper of the hidden mist. This should be fun, Zabuza said, laughing, and Ichigo joined in. The copy ninja 6th head master and Asuma Saratobi, one of the 12 guardian ninja,